Lewis Hamilton is disappointed with the W15. After completing the first day of practice in Melbourne, he remained dissatisfied and critically expressed his thoughts on the new car, calling this practice one of the worst he has had in a long time. In this video, you will hear Hamilton's commentary. You will find out what caused Mercedes' poor start in Australia and why such results are not a bad sign, but rather an indication that the team is approaching an understanding of their new car. The Australian Grand Prix marks the third race of the season in which Mercedes appears uncompetitive, yet it distinguishes itself from the previous two. The initial races proved to be genuine disappointments due to cooling issues and the discovery of a fundamental error in the car, which Mercedes cannot comprehend. However, this time, the team anticipated such results. The aim of the Australian Grand Prix is to test the car to identify the source of its instability and to guide the team in the direction they should proceed. The Melbourne track is well suited for this purpose because it features fast turns similar to those in Jeddah. It is under such conditions that the instability of the W15 becomes apparent. Even after the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, there were reports that Mercedes would experiment in Melbourne and expects to find answers to many questions regarding their car. In this regard, Mercedes' chief racing engineer Andrew Chauvelin has expressed his thoughts. There's definitely data that we're picking through from Jeddah. We're also looking at data from the Bahrain race, Bahrain test, and we will come up with a plan for how we approach free practice in Melbourne. But it's not just based on what we did in Jeddah. There's a lot of work going on within the aerodynamics department, vehicle dynamics department. We're trying to design some experiments there that will hopefully give us a direction that's good for performance. Such a statement allows for a better understanding of the team's expectations for this Grand Prix and explains why the results of George Russell and Lewis Hamilton differed so significantly. In their experiments, the Mercedes pilots ventured in different directions, making both good and poor results equally valuable under such circumstances. This allows for comparisons of setups and identifies what is not working, as well as what adds productivity to the car. This explains the varying impressions from the first practice session. George Russell, who was more optimistic, was the first to express his thoughts on this matter. We were pushing the limits today and I had a few moments out there. It was all under control in the end though. It was very tight out there in the first session with FP2 slightly more spread out. I was on for a really good lap on my last push on the soft tire, but just ran wide in the last two corners and picked up some minor damage to my front wing. Without that, I think we would have finished the session P3. We are trying to understand this car further and made some changes after Saudi Arabia. Every single lap is so valuable as you learn more about the car and try to get it into the sweet spot. We will have the team back at the factory working hard in the simulator to get more performance out of it. Let's see what tomorrow brings. When you arrive the next day, it can often be very different. While George Russell's more positive results may reassure and offer hope that the team is nearing a solution to its problems, it's important not to forget that these are just tests. In tests, it's crucial to identify not only the strengths of the car, but also its weaknesses and focus on what causes them. Additionally, Lewis Hamilton's weaker results in the second practice session might bring Mercedes closer to understanding their issues. After all, these issues didn't arise out of thin air, but stemmed from adjustments made to Hamilton's car before FP2. I obviously don't feel great. We had one of the worst sessions I've probably had for a long time. FP1 generally felt quite good. The car in FP1 run, one felt the best it's ever felt, and it just got worse and worse. And then we made some big changes into FP2, and it was tough. After that session, I feel the least confident I've ever felt with this car. But there are positives from that FP1 run that we did. The learning process continues. Of course, if you're a Mercedes fan, you'd want the team to already be delivering great results. However, at this stage, it's crucial to gather as much information about the car as possible to move away from instability issues and focus on productivity. In the past season, there were Grand Prix races that brought Mercedes fans a lot of joy, such as the Spanish Grand Prix. But it's now evident that those were isolated instances of good results, where the team managed to tune the car correctly but couldn't translate it into consistently high performances. Therefore, it's not wise to expect too much from this Grand Prix, and to understand that even Mercedes' good results so far don't necessarily guarantee stability. What are your thoughts on these Mercedes results? Do you believe they will be able to identify the source of the problem, or do you think they will encounter failures? Share your thoughts in the comments.